Hey guys, what's going on? Do you notice anything different about Clifford? Yeah, we named him Clifford, the big red dog. He's still a puppy, but he's growing up. We installed the Rough Country 2.5-inch spacer lift on her yesterday, and it took a while. Let's go over that just a little bit. So as you know, there's lots of different lifts that are starting to be available on these JLs. And this one is the spacer version of the lift. Gives you a 2.5-inch spacer up here in the front and a 2-inch spacer in the rear. Now, when I measured this Jeep when it was stock, I got 1/4 of an inch more height in the rear than the front, which obviously is built into these things so that you have a little bit of payload. So personally, I don't know why you would want the front to sit higher than the back, but for some reason, lots of the kits available on the market do that. So anyhow, this kit was about $165 delivered, so it's a pretty economical kit. And as you can see, you have a steel spacer there that has the rubber isolator underneath of it. And they also give you some new sway links, which you can see right there. And I've seen some guys that have had trouble with these, but mine bolted up just fine, and they're not crooked. The bushings don't look funny or anything. So everything looks good there. And the other thing you get with this kit is the shock extensions right there. So it keeps your shocks, your factory shocks, working like normal. So the cool thing about this kit is that the ride quality is just like stock, and everything pretty much just gets reused from your factory suspension. Now, one thing that you're gonna have to do after you put a 2.5-inch lift on here is adjust your steering wheel. Mine was off a little bit, and so obviously right here is your adjustment collar, and you've got one right there. You've got a 15mm nut that you have to loosen, and then you can spin that collar. I found that it was easier to use a big set of pliers on it and just spin that collar, and it will straighten up your steering wheel. And what I've noticed is that if you spin the bottom of the collar toward the rear of the Jeep, it'll spin your steering wheel clockwise. If you spin it so at the top of the collar is spinning toward the rear of the Jeep, it makes your steering wheel go counterclockwise. So this might be something that takes a little trial and error. I had to adjust mine about 3 times, I think, to get it spot on where I was happy with it. But overall, it's not a real big project to get that done. Now, what was a big project was installing this kit. It wasn't supposed to be something that was time consuming, but unfortunately it was time consuming. These sway links here in the front, the upper and the lower, they have 2 different size bushing sleeves. So when you get the kit, you want to pay attention to that. And also, the bushing sleeves are not installed in the front ones like they are the rear ones. So these links right here gave us some fits. The instructions are extremely poor, very vague. In the parts list, it does mention 2 different spacer or bushing sleeves, but in the instructions it said nothing about having different sizes, where to put which size or whatever. I mean, it was just kind of a mess. Something like this that should be a 5-minute job took us 30 minutes or more, so that was kind of a pain. The other thing that's a pain is that, let me see if I can get to where I can see it here. Right there underneath the passenger side, you've got those bump stop extensions that you have to put in there, and you have to get up under the spring perch to put the nut on the bolt to hold it down. And that particular spring perch right there on the passenger side, because the track bar bracketry is right here, it gets in the way, and there's no way to get your hand in there to really work on it. So we found that it was very difficult to hold the nut up under there while you threaded the bolt in, so that also took a long time. It's these little bitty things that should have been a piece of cake that ended up taking us an hour or more to do, and that's why this kit took such a long time to do. I was going to try and show you the angle. It's going to be hard to see on here, guys, I'm sorry, but the angle of the lower control arms, there is a little bit more of an angle to them, obviously, but it's not terrible. It's not terrible. The caster, you can tell, is a little bit off because the Jeep drives a little bit flighty, and if you watched my other video, you know that from the factory these JLs don't drive very good. I mean, the steering is horrible, you know, in stock condition. So when you put a lift kit on there, you know, it did get just a little bit worse, but it was already bad, so who cares, right? In the future, I'm going to get some adjustable control arms so I can get my caster dialed back in where it's supposed to be. But just to let you know, you can run this kit without doing anything to your control arms, because that's what I'm doing right now. So that's pretty much the front end. The front end took the longest amount of time. The rear of it wasn't too bad. I think in the rear we just unbolted the sway links, shocks, drooped the axle down, popped the spacers in there. One problem that we had in the rear was that, let me get up under here. Okay, so up there in the top where the spacer is, there's a washer that goes in up there on top of the perch, and then you screw a bolt in through the bottom, and that holds the spacer to the frame of the vehicle. Then you put everything back in. Well, the washer that they gave us, one of them was not welded properly, and so the nut was welded onto the washer crooked, which means that the bolt would not thread all the way through. So we had to use an air grinder and grind out and elongate the hole so that the bolt would go through. You know, it just goes with the theme, the overall theme of this kit, which is that the stuff that's supposed to be really simple ends up being the thing that takes forever, seems like. And then of course you've got new sway links back here too. Bump stop extension right there was easy to put on. That was the one thing in the whole kit that was labeled really well. The hardware was together in one bag. Everything matched, you know, went the way it was supposed to. So at least that part was easy. But yeah, I mean, the back was not nearly as bad as the front. The rod quality on this kit is pretty much like stock, as you would expect since you're reusing all your stock suspension. It is pretty much like stock. Like I said, the steering is a little bit more flighty, but it's not bad. And for the price that you pay for this kit, you know, to be able to run 35-inch tires is probably your best bet for an economical kit. So anyway, that's what she looks like now, and all we need to decide on at this point is which tires.